Nobody saw this train wreck coming. Not Papoose. Not the internet. Not even the die-hard defenders who swore this situation was harmless. What started as 50 Cent casually throwing a name into a beef that had absolutely nothing to do with anyone else, supposedly just to get a reaction, supposedly to stir the pot, supposedly classic 50 Cent behavior, quickly spiraled into something far bigger. And then it exploded. No one in Claressa Shields' circle was ready for what followed. Maserati Bud didn't move quietly. He didn't rely on anonymous tips, vague leaks, or blurry screenshots. Instead, he came forward with detailed claims, specifics that allegedly went far beyond what anyone expected. And yes, the internet is still trying to process it. According to sources, this wasn't framed as casual interaction or harmless industry connections. Instead, it was described as repeated private access, something that, if true, would be difficult to explain as purely professional. Maserati Bud allegedly spoke about being inside her home on specific dates, describing exact rooms, even referencing furniture he claimed to have helped choose. He also hinted at footage that, as of now, has not been released. But here's where things take a turn. Insiders claim that 50 Cent wasn't even the origin of this situation. According to whispers, the alleged connection between Claressa Shields and Maserati Bud had been circulating privately long before anything went public. In fact, sources suggest this story had been quietly discussed for nearly 11 months. It reportedly surfaced in private circles, reached a blogger, and according to insiders, was eventually taken down under pressure. Some even claim the information sat with 50 Cent for a significant amount of time before he chose the moment to post. And that timing? Allegedly not random. Sources suggest the post came before the full picture could surface publicly, because without that strategic timing, the impact wouldn't have landed the same way. Now consider Claressa Shields herself. Flint, Michigan. Two-time Olympic gold medalist. Undisputed champion. She built her reputation on resilience. Real, documented, hard-earned resilience. She's known for turning pressure into fuel. Backing down has never been her style. That's why insiders say the shift in her energy, from confident to what some describe as damage control mode, stood out more than any single allegation. Then there's Papoose. Still legally married to Remy Ma, he has consistently been viewed as loyal, the steady presence, the one who stands firm. But now, according to sources, his silence in response to Maserati Bud's claims is raising more questions than answers. And Maserati Bud? Reportedly based in Miami and connected to music circles. Insiders say he realized things had changed the moment Claressa posted their phone call publicly. According to sources, what may have been intended as damage control was instead seen by him as a violation, using his voice without permission to shape a narrative he hadn't agreed to. That, insiders suggest, is when everything escalated. He allegedly warned that if recordings were shared, he would respond by releasing footage. And suddenly, the internet began to take that threat very seriously. Now here's the part that really complicates things. Sources familiar with his claims describe a timeline centered around Christmas night, placing him inside Claressa's home while Papoose was allegedly elsewhere. He reportedly described specific details, the layout, the furniture, even a FaceTime call involving Papoose happening while he was present in the same space. Insiders argue that level of detail is difficult to fabricate. Whether that's true or not remains unverified. But what stands out is that these specifics haven't been directly addressed point by point. And in situations like this, general denials often struggle against highly detailed claims. What began as a simple rap beef between 50 Cent and Papoose, filled with memes, jabs, and social media shots, has now spiraled into something much larger. Claressa stepped in to respond. Maserati Bud chose to speak. And Papoose now finds himself at the center of a situation he may not have fully anticipated. And we're still not at the end, because what came next added another layer entirely. According to sources, this wasn't a single-thread situation. There was reportedly a parallel track, one that existed before 50 Cent's post, before Maserati Bud went public, and even before that phone call surfaced. Starts with a blogger. Insiders claim she had already posted photos, videos, and even named Maserati Bud in connection with Claressa Shields before any mainstream attention. That content was allegedly removed after legal pressure. True, that changes everything, because it suggests 50 Cent's post may not have been random trolling, but a calculated move, amplifying information that had already been suppressed elsewhere. Sources claim he knew about the original post, knew it had been taken down, and chose to reintroduce it on a platform far more difficult to silence. And the story doesn't stop there. According to insiders, Remy Ma may have had concerns long before any of this became public. Not necessarily about specific individuals, but about questions surrounding Papoose's private life. Those concerns, sources claim, were raised early and dismissed at the time. Now they're being revisited. One source suggests she may have been asking the right questions before anyone even realized there was a story to uncover. What exactly she knew, however, remains unclear and largely unexplored in public discussion. To be clear, everything here is based on claims, public statements, and reported insider perspectives. These are not confirmed facts, but they are the questions currently driving public conversation. And just when it seemed like things couldn't escalate further, they did. Sources close to Maserati Bud suggest he hasn't released everything he allegedly has. Instead, he may have shared just enough to establish credibility, enough to make people question the narrative, but not enough to reveal everything. According to insiders, there are still unreleased elements, particularly surrounding that Christmas timeline, that haven't been made public. And the reason? Allegedly strategic. One source claims he is watching closely, waiting to see whether releasing more would actually change anything, or if the current level of exposure has already achieved its purpose. So where does that leave everyone else? According to reports, Claressa Shields' team is now navigating what insiders describe as a uniquely complex public situation, not necessarily because of the severity of the claims, but because of how the information surfaced. Multiple sources, alleged suppression attempts, detailed narratives, and the possibility of unreleased material still in play. Within her circle, there is reportedly debate. One side believes that responding only fuels the situation further. The other argues that silence in the face of detailed claims risks being interpreted as something more. And Claressa herself? According to sources, she may still be weighing those options. As for Papoose, insiders suggest he may know more about the timeline than he has publicly acknowledged, not necessarily confirming wrongdoing, but indicating he may have been aware of parts of the situation as it unfolded. At this point, the pattern is hard to ignore. A suppressed blogger post, a strategically timed amplification, a phone call that backfired, highly specific claims, alleged unreleased footage, and early questions that may have gone overlooked. Taken together, this doesn't look like spontaneous drama. It looks structured. And according to sources, the most significant part of the story may still be what hasn't been revealed, because this situation is far from over. So now the question becomes, what happens next? Will Maserati Bud release the full footage he's hinted at? Will new details emerge from someone closer to the situation? Or will this remain a story built on claims, speculation, and strategic silence? One thing is certain, this isn't fading anytime soon. So where do you stand?